Yep. He said
Okay. It's 5:30. I'm going to call the Municipal Building Commission meeting to order for July 5th, 2023. And for the record, we have Terry DeSisto, Ed Stanton, Jackie Romanicki, Gail Clark, Jerry Freecott, Jay Allard, and myself, so we have a quorum. I know the minutes came out very early this morning. Has everyone had a chance to see them from our June 28th meeting? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. The first thing on our agenda is the Willett School roof project. So Anjanette and Andy, are you going to come up?
I'm just going to speak, come up here. I'm just going to speak broadly about what we've been up to since we last visited. An NOI was issued to Skanska for Phase 2. Right now, it's currently with our SAS group in Boston. I anticipate having that back next week at the latest.
Well, that's good because we're already into Phase 2.
I know. And then invoices, next week we'll submit invoices for the month of June. That'll be for Skanska, Russo Bar, and then we also had an invoice for Bid Docs. They were the platform that, where all the bids were posted and whatnot. So I did speak with Mason about that. It should be no problems there. We've been continuing our OAC meetings weekly. Russo Bar is developing scope and alternates for the window work. He'll speak to that. Andy will speak to that, sorry. We did receive 3 bids for the roofing work. JD&D was the apparent low bidder, Stanley and WPI. Again, I'm going to let Andy speak to that. We are still within budget for the lowest bidder. It came a little bit higher than we anticipated. We do have a kickoff meeting tomorrow at Willett with the apparent low bidder at 1 p.m. At that meeting, we will talk about submittals, insurances, bonds. Mason will be in attendance. And then we will...
I won't be able to make that meeting.
I saw that. I think
you don't need me there anyway.
Jason Parenteau will be there as well. And then the contract that we included with the bid docs is going to be updated with the value, their bid value, and they'll review it and we'll send it over, and hopefully we can turn that around, Mason, and get that to you guys for next Tuesday. That's all I have, so I'm going to turn it over to Andy.
The big numbers, prices.
Sure.
Yeah, so they were, hello, Andy Barr, again. 3 bids were received. JD&D was $746,000, Stanley Roofing was $983,000, and WPI was $997,000. Our estimate was...
Just a minor spread.
Yeah, just a minor spread. Our estimate was, do you remember what that number?
It was right under 600.
Yeah, right around 600,000, yeah. So we went through the process of vetting the contractors. We have worked with JD&D on a few projects. We've worked with all of these people on a few projects. I think the reason why the 2 high bids were so high is because of the time of year when this was put out. They all have pretty much have a lot of work lined up, and they figure, I'm going to throw a number in, and if they're crazy enough to take it, I'll do the work. Okay. JD&D's number is closer. And probably because they did not get as much work. We are confident, and they are confident. We've gone through the scope with them. They say they can do the job, and we're confident that it can be done. They are eager to get started, which is why we're having that meeting tomorrow, even though the contract we're still going through the contract part of it. So they want to they're already submitting submittals to us so we can get that going, and we want to get everything in order so that they can get everything here and be ready to start when the contract is or at least have materials ordered, so when the contract is signed.
What's our projected start date?
We were
I think it was mid-July.
mid-July, like the 15th or something like that. Yeah. But we want to get going as quickly as we can, as you know, if things continue with weather the way that they have been, you know, everybody's going to be
The
scrambling.
fact that it's rained every day for a month?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the status of the roofing project. And I think that we'll, between the coverage that Skanska will have on it and our people, Rich Corum in particular, will be on the job watching what they're doing continuously. Phase 2, which
Well,
is...
Let's stop.
Sure.
So, are you recommending, and is Skanska recommending to us that we recommend to the mayor
Yeah.
that we accept the apparent low bidder, JD&D?
Yes, we are. Yes, that is our recommendations, yes. Yeah. And we will put that in a letter form, but we just haven't had it, I mean, things are moving so
It's
quickly.
okay.
Yeah.
The paperwork can catch up.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
So, anybody have any questions before Jackie makes a motion?
Yes, that's right.
Jack was the,
And by the way, let the record show that Andrew Acosta is here now.
the funding, did we have enough money for this?
Yeah, so Mason, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically with this bid, plus I threw 50 grand on top just for yucks. That gets us to 800. We got about another 300 between the designer and the OPM. Gets us up to about 1.1. So we've got 900 left in the bond. Not that we want to spend all of that, but we've got 900 left in the bond. And Andy's going to talk about the projected costs for phase 2 in a minute. But, so we are still good to go.
For the roof only portion?
Well, I think we've got enough money to do everything. The question for phase 2 is what's the rest, because we have to do the window wall.
Mhm.
But then there were some questions about other windows, about doors, and he's gonna talk to us about that. But that work was estimated at around 300.
The window, the 2 window walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, assuming that, you know, we're probably under 1.5 at this point, given those numbers,
Okay.
out of 2.
Yep.
Okay?
And then go on, sorry. Thank you.
Anything you wanna add to that, Mason? or-
No, it's just there will be a discussion about prioritization of,
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah, we'll talk
funds.
about that, yeah.
Talk about that.
I'll talk about that in a
We need
minute.
to, you know, because Mark Furtado has indicated that there is some money from another program, is it called ESSER?
ESSER funds. I can't really speak to that if if there's money available for that or not. That's kind of in the school budget, those ESSER funds, and there's already plenty of projects that are drawing on those ESSER funds. So we can talk to Mark to see if there's something available. Couldn't tell you right now.
Yeah, what he mentioned at one meeting was that the air conditioning for the Willard School was coming from ESSER funds, and he thought there might be some money to devote to some of the other windows we may not be able to get to.
Yeah, so it depends on sort of the scope of that HVAC project, and potentially utilizing ESSER funds for some of the window work that could be considered within the scope of this project, but those funds may be able to be allocated for that as well. Again, more conversations to be had around that, but in principle, yes.
But if you remember, the reason that we split this out was that A, we did not want the roofer to be a general contractor and have the window installer be a sub to someone who knows nothing about windows.
Correct. Yep.
And B, we're still looking at maybe 16 weeks, was it, lead time on the windows?
Yeah, could be more.
So
Yeah.
we'd like to get the roofer in and out and then bring a window person in at some point, whether that's 4, 5, 6 months from now. I mean, the key here is to get the roof fixed
Yep.
before it rains too much more.
Correct. Yep.
So, I think a motion is in order to recommend to the mayor that we accept the low bid of JD&D Construction, is that the name, Andy?
Yes, JD&D.
In the amount of $646,000?
700.
746. 746,000.
So moved. Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, phase 2.
Phase 2. So phase 2 would be, I did a fairly thorough walk around the Willett School the day after school ended. I was able to get in and look at a few things and then look at all the windows and doors. Okay. And one of the things that sort of struck me as I walked around and I said, okay, there's the roof. Yep, it needs to be done and we're doing the roof. We're going to do the cupola and we're going to paint it and everything else. And there's, I think,
We're also working on gutters as part of this.
Yeah, right, that's part right. So in other words, down the roof and gutters and the eaves, okay, which will all be either replaced and/or painted, okay?
And if I can stop you there, we had a discussion this morning. There is a possibility, I think, of not going with copper gutters and perhaps using something that is less expensive
Yep.
for phase one.
Yeah, that's a possibility, and actually, if you sort of look at the building and the fact that it's predominantly white trim and the like, so going with white aluminum and a good, an 050, a good thick gutter, but, going a white color, which ties it all together with these, because it's sort of a decorative cornice and eaves that are on that building. So I don't think it would be objectionable to switch from copper to aluminum, which would, and that thickness of aluminum is going to last pretty much almost as long as copper would. So there could potentially be some cost savings.
Is there differences with warranties potentially?
All you get on a warranty for a metal is you're going to get the fabricators, the installer's warranty. You don't get a warranty on the material, although a Kynar coated aluminum, you do get a 20-year warranty on the coating on the paint, because it's a it's a factory, it's a baked on coating basically. So.
And so we talked with Mark Furtado, and he said that, if it didn't detract from the historic nature of the building, that he didn't have an objection to doing that.
Yep.
Do you think that there would be a savings through that value engineering?
There should be.
So we can get back some of that 150 we're over?
Yeah, yes, and so that's what we'll talk to the contractor about, yeah. So, it's not like it's an exotic color or anything like that. White is a pretty common aluminum color. So hopefully we can. That's something we can talk to them about.
Good. So I know I've interrupted you.
No, that's fine.
So go ahead.
Yeah, so as, walking around and you see that we're gonna have a nice new roof, everything's gonna be nice white painted, and then you go down below that and you've got a couple of main entrances, and and then we're gonna do the window walls. Then you've got a couple of main entrances that have doors and big arched windows above them. There's one that is in that sort of center where people pull in, and then there's one around the back. And then there's also and down below in the back, there's that big bay window. It's sort of like a round window, but it's actually like a bay window.
Cafeteria?
I think, is that, or a library or something inside there? It's down on the basement level. There's,
We built a new gym down in the basement level.
yeah, no, that's on that side. This is on the corner back by where the playground is in the back.
I think the library is in what used to be the
Okay.
gym, if I remember right. Is that correct, Jackie?
It could be
Long
like a
time ago.
kindergarten or something like that, because it was small, because it was carpeted floor and when I went in there, but the custodian took me in and was showing me some of the areas, and it's one of the areas that there has been some leaking, but it's my point is that it's all wood trim on the outside, and it doesn't look like it's been painted in many years. So
A common theme in the
yeah.
city of Attleboro.
So from a
called
priority
deferred-
standpoint,
It's called deferred maintenance.
yeah, deferred maintenance. From a priority standpoint, getting any of that wood that's remaining repaired, replaced if need be, and painted should be a priority, because that'll take care of that. It will also take care of finalizing the sort of appearance, the upgrade of the appearance of the whole building. There's 19 doors on that building. That's 19 entrances. Some of them are double. I believe there's actually 10 double doors and 9 single doors. They're all over that building. And they use most of them. And between the frames and the condition of the doors, they're in sort of varying ages, but all in pretty tough shape. So I think doing the window walls that we're talking about, getting the wood and everything painted around that, and around those entrances in the bay, and then and then replacing the majority of the doors, if not all of the doors, is sort of the next priority. And then we can look at getting some windows. I'm not sure that we're going to get a lot of windows at that point in time. And the thing that becomes a little bit difficult on this is if we just start doing certain windows, where do you start, where do you stop? How do you, because they're all the same windows on the whole building. All the windows are windows that when the additions were done, they were replaced in most of the whole. So I think pretty much all the windows are the same age, except there was a window, they're big double hung windows, and you can't even lift half of them, a lot of them. So there was a window repair job that was done. I don't know how long ago, it's difficult to tell. That they took out the bottom sash of every other or every third window and they put a sliding window in it. It's not my choice but it got them something that was easier to use, something that was easier to open, and I understand what the intent was on that. But so what you had, between the windows that are still there and then the upper sash of the windows that were replaced, they are insulated glass, but it is literally a 1/4 inch insulated glass. It's not very, it's a old, like first generation insulated glass, and not very energy efficient. So new windows would be something that we want to, I think is the next, if you end up doing a phase 3, or we want to, that's, I think, what we need to do is look at the estimate. We're working on this, and we're working on the estimate of the doors and things like that. My rough numbers are that doors and painting would probably be about all the doors and then all that painting and repair that I was talking about, probably another $200,000 on top of the 3, let's say, that we already have for the other stuff. So we could get some windows, but it's just, we would probably have to pick like a wing or something like that, and maybe a classroom wing comes first or something, which is typically have higher use. That could be something to consider. So.
And when do you think you'd be able to deliver a report to us?
I would say within a couple weeks tops. When do you meet next? Yeah, when do you meet next?
Well, we are meeting on the Council on Aging next week on the 12th. We have the School Building Committee on the 19th, and we were planning on taking the 26th off. And then August 2nd would be our next regular meeting. So do you think August 2nd would be a good time?
Certainly, yeah. And we can get a report to you before that, and with some scenarios on
Yeah, so
dollars.
we'll have a chance to digest it.
Right.
And
Yep.
we're probably going to need to get some policy direction from the corner office, Mason, as well, right? And probably want to coordinate this with Mark Furtado for whatever he thinks he can do. So
Yep.
I think if we look at August 2nd for your next report, I think that would be appropriate.
What I might try to get
with
you.
the lead time, it's not going to make
Yeah,
any
no,
difference
I know,
anyway,
you're right, yeah. And I think that what I can try to get to you, maybe even before that, is a spreadsheet with some priorities and things like that, so you can start looking at trying to put together something, and that type of thing.
And did you say that all of the windows were that 1/4 inch thick paint?
Yeah, and everything except what was replaced. But
Sure.
but they literally took the bottom sash of a double hung out and stuck a slider in there. It's sort of an
We
odd.
did that project, we rehabbed that school in its entirety, and right after Studley, that was the second
Early
project.
90s.
Early 90s. So whatever the warranty was on those windows,
yeah.
it's long since
Yeah,
gone, right?
Right, and it's funny because, they're big double hungs, and that's what was part of the original building, which would have had wooden double hung windows, and
Yeah,
they.
that building was built in the
Yeah.
early 1940s.
Right.
It was during World War
Right.
II. John McIntyre was the mayor. Which doesn't mean anything to
Doesn't
you,
mean
but he was-
nothing to
he was
me.
the founder-
Me neither.
Founder of my law firm.
Okay, there you go. Okay. But so they took double hungs out, they put double hungs in, and the problem is that, in a school with, they're very, as they start to get old and the balances break, they're so heavy, and usually there's a unit ventilator or some casework underneath it, and these poor teachers are sitting here trying to go like this to lift something up, and it just doesn't work. So, you can still maintain the same appearance as a double hung, but get something that is a different type of operator that gets the ventilation in still, and but is much more energy efficient, easier to use, the whole thing. So, and we'll have that in the report.
Okay.
Question
Is that a DRA project, Jackie?
What?
Drummy Roseanne?
Maybe.
I think I've seen that. I think I've seen their name on some things.
Question
Andy?
on the walls of the building, since it's an older building, putting new well-insulated windows, could there be a case where the windows are more insulated than the walls?
In theory, yes. But unfortunately, there's not a whole lot. And by the way, I did look at the masonry as I went around, and the masonry is in really very good shape. There are a few lintels that may need to be replaced, but for the most part, they're galvanized lintels, some of which may have been replaced in the past in the older building, but they're in good shape, and the masonry is in there's a small amount of repointing to be done, but not a lot. But anyways, so yes, to your question, they would be. But there's not a whole lot, when you're dealing with an existing masonry building, you're not going to clad the outside of it to gain insulation. The only way you can do it is on the inside, which means more of a gut renovation in order to do that. There may have been some insulation put in when they did the 1990 renovation, depending upon what they did on the inside walls, because pretty much anything post late 70s, the first energy crisis, insulation was added during those times. Does it meet today's code? No, but it's you have the old building in particular is a mass masonry. There's no cavity, so you have you create a thermal mass which will warm up during the day and different things like that. But yeah, But what we do try to do is in a new window job or replacement window job is not one, you're improving the energy efficiency of the windows, but also you're tightening up the building a little bit and stopping air infiltration.
You're getting it more weather tight.
Yeah,
Getting
exactly.
rid of the air leaks.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
My memory is that we tore that building back to the studs and rebuilt a new school
It was
inside
all the way
old one.
back.
Yeah, so there's probably some insulation in it. Yeah, I mean it's and these buildings are not 80% glass, so there's only so much that you can do, but it certainly helps, for sure. The other thing that typically we notice on school window jobs is we also go with low E tinted glass, and you actually notice you get more comments from teachers about, well, two things. One, they can see out of their windows again, because in many cases a lot of schools have plexiglass, but the other thing is just the fact that they reduce the solar gain, so that they're the south-facing windows where they're hot, they're closing shades and everything like that. Suddenly they don't have to do that as much because they're not. It's more of affecting in particular the spring months and the fall months that we still get a lot of heat and the sun is still baking in. So it's
and Willett has heat problems. That's why they're a deceased former mayor told us that we shouldn't put air conditioning in. I remember that, because it would have added $900,000 to the price, which
yeah,
fortunately will cost a whole lot more now.
yep, that's for sure.
Of course, if we'd done it then, we'd probably be replacing and upgrading the system now, because it'd be like the library, old and outdated, but that's another story for another day. Anything else you want to share with us?
Don't think so.
Any more questions? So, as long as you're standing there,
Yeah.
and I know we're still working on the contract for the police roof and all, but do you have any 3-minute update for us?
Only that we've been working on some. I think field work is scheduled for. It could be this week. I don't remember exactly. I got to talk to Rich about it. But we're proceeding with the whole thing of roof primarily, masonry or whatever work only on that above roof line, and any other areas. I am a little bit concerned about. There's a couple walls of areas of masonry just below the roof line, in particular on the rear addition, that it looks like there's been something happening, having to do probably leaks that have. So I think we want to have a contingency in there at least for some of that masonry. Stop hitting the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, then, thank you. And
We'll plan on August 2nd for,
August 2nd is, you'll probably be the prime speaker that night.
okay,
It will be here in this room.
okay, good, all right, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And thank you, Anjanette. All right, next we go to the Attleboro Pawtucket Water Interconnect Project. We got Matt and Courtney. Been a while, Matt.
It has. It has. Hope everyone's had a good year since the last time I was here, just about.
Well, given the numbers you're gonna give us, I think it has been a good year, but
Yeah, this meeting could have gone one of two ways for me personally, but happy to report that last Thursday, sitting in these chambers, we did have a positive event. On a couple levels, obviously just getting right down to the numbers. Last year we had one bidder at 3.8 million. This year we went back, rebid the project. I'll go over the change in 1 second, but we had 5 bidders, which is just always far more encouraging. All of them with lower bids, but the best number from a very reputable firm is 2.9 million, so $2,937,677. That was the low general bid, and that's from Waterline Industries Corporation, who has worked here in Attleboro successfully in the recent past, and I've worked with personally on other projects similar in size and scope in other communities, and we've had positive experiences with Waterline.
is there anything further you need to do to qualify the apparent low bidder, or is we all set to go?
We're set to go. We're working through our normal process, which generally is calling their financial institutions, their bank, and then the bonding agency. We've already made that contact and received favorable feedback, so now it's just a matter of typing up a letter, which I'm anticipating will be through this week. Traditionally, if it was somebody that we didn't know as well, we'd call every reference we could find, but we've done this evaluation with them in the past, over the past couple of years, and again, I've worked with them, so we have a pretty good feel for who we think we're going to be dealing with here. So I don't know that we need to get too involved with the letter of recommendation beyond, again, we firmed up the financial responses and need to just make sure that all our work with them currently is in good standing. So reached out to one person in particular. They were just on vacation. Otherwise, working on getting the city their letter of intent to award. So we send that to the city on a draft for them to send, and then we'll send with that a letter of recommendation to award. So probably by the end of the week.
So are you recommending that we recommend to the mayor
That we award this to.
granting the bid to Waterline Industries?
We do, yes.
And Courtney, are you satisfied?
I am. Actually, they've done a couple recent projects that here directly with the water department is the department they worked with. So they did Hoppin Hill Dam within the last 5 years, and our HVAC at the main plant within the last 5 years too. And we were pleased with them on both projects.
Good. So what's our timeline now going forward?
So after we move through, signing documents, et cetera, that generally takes 3 weeks, maybe. You pass things around, beat vacation schedules, et cetera. They have 20 days, basically, from the date that everything gets executed, the contract goes into place, and then it's a 600 calendar day contract schedule.
600?
There's still a VFD to be obtained here. For those that don't remember.
So we still have a long lead time.
Yeah, it's less than, which is good, but still not an awesome market to be involved in right now. From there, the manufacturer, et cetera. So we'll get right on top of some of the immediate action items would be a pre-construction meeting and then getting them to submit. One of the nice things about this particular procurement process is we required each contractor to tell us who they were going to use for the pre-manufactured pump station. And so we have their design that was actually required to be. So we can actually sort of begin reviewing that design now. Obviously, it's something that we can get into at this stage. They can get that VFD ordered, and hopefully we can, keep things moving as quickly as possible. But it's probably about a year until that VFD is ready, plus or minus. And that's been our experience that's probably a better timeline than it was this time last year, but that's
Yeah, I
still,
think you were talking 16 months last time.
Yeah.
last year was
That's
16
longer.
months.
It's down to 12. What great progress.
Yes, what a world that we live in. It definitely has improved, and the one change that we made to these bid documents was a bit of a simpler VFD, so that helps. But the lead time for this particular VFD is still about 12 months.
So when are we projecting to be able to flip the switch and get a little bit of water from Pawtucket to see if it works?
I would like for that to happen, substantial completion and usefulness to the city before the depths of next summer, right? So, summer after next.
So 2 years from now?
Yes.
26.
So this is 2023, so June 2025.
And
When
let's
did it
keep our
start?
fingers crossed that we don't have any catastrophic failures anywhere in the system. And before June, let's hope they never happen, but certainly
Yeah.
before June of 2025. But if you don't start, you don't finish.
Right.
Before Jackie makes the motion, is there any questions or comments?
Just on the VFDs, how many suppliers or how many different vendors are there where manufacturers, I don't know what you want to.
I wouldn't say I have an exact number. I'd say that we typically see 4 to 5 different manufacturers. And certainly there's less than type manufacturers out there. We'd prefer like a Rockwell or something like that in terms of reputable. But that can meet our spec. The answer is probably 4 to 5, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Did we design around one particular brand?
I'm not positive as the answer to that. I mean, we designed, our basis of design on the pump station itself was around one manufacturer, and I believe that they can accommodate any of those 4 to 5 manufacturers.
Okay.
Is this a Buy America, or do we have to be domestic or foreign, or?
No.
Well,
I think that-
aren't we using, which funds? Trying to remember.
It's partial ARPA funding, if that's
ARPA.
what you're getting at, yeah.
Does that have a requirement?
No, I think because of the partial nature and the timeline on this, not that we're there yet, but we're still into waivers into 6 months from August, I believe, or I'm sure Mason knows these dates a little better than myself. But because this is partial, my understanding is we didn't have to go that route during bidding, as we did on one of the jobs at the treatment plant. I can't remember which.
There's no Buy America restriction, so even without that restriction, it's still taken.
No, the 2 kickers for that are traditionally, if you went SRF, which the city did not for this project, and then ARPA, which, because it's a partial ARPA funding, this doesn't qualify.
Any other questions? Then the motion is in order to recommend to the mayor that the contract be awarded to Waterline Industries in the amount of $2,937,000.
677. I thought you were going to do that straight from memory. That was $2,937,677.
Okay, I missed the 677.
I thought you had a cheat sheet or something. That was.
Yeah. Okay.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so it probably could be a while before we see you again, right?
I live in Seekonk. Let me know when you want me to come by.
Well, I think one of the things that, once construction starts, and don't necessarily have to show up at meetings, but if we can get, a monthly written
The
summary
updates,
or
yeah.
something that we can pass around, that's what we've done in the past usually, that's been helpful.
I think we did that for HVAC. I know that we did that for the dam replacement. So that'll be part of our monthly. And I think traditionally you guys meet first Wednesday, so we try to get that in like 2 weeks in advance for review, et cetera.
Because we have to approve paying the bills, and we like to have some backup to know
Nope.
that the
No
bills
problem.
are appropriate.
It's certainly something we've done in the past, and happy to do so. We'll just set that into our schedule with the contractor too, so that we get the pay recs in time and so forth.
Okay.
When do you figure you're sticking a shovel in the ground?
Well, they're going to order this. It'll be at least a year, I would think. I mean, I say that there are utility works, gas in particular. I was talking to them last week on Friday after the bid opening. So we need to do a gas replacement. It's allowance that happens through the contractor, but the gas company will go out and do it in advance because they need to relocate around the site. I think that they wanted to do the work like January of 2024, just get it over with. So there could be some work at site prior to that, and then there's the piping site work, et cetera. But the general contractor is not going to be in a big rush to get out there too far in advance of having the pump station itself.
And given our history with the high school, getting the gas company or the electric company to show up.
First 2 calls I made. Gas company, good contacts, actually sent them the CAD files this morning, was able to get that. So that's not unique to the high school. You guys have been around, but already on their schedule, already getting them what they need. National Grid, I'm working to, there's been a new contact since this project's been going on for a while, obviously. There's a new contact there working to figure out who that is, but I do a little bit of work with National Grid for other means, so I'm working to establish that.
Just remember that in the event that you run into some roadblocks, this mayor and past mayors have been willing to make phone calls to the liaison person, which usually helps.
Yes, we always try to do political last, right? But it has happened.
We can only go to the
before.
well so often, I
Yeah,
understand.
But with the gas company, again, off to a good start, and with National Grid, I have confidence, it's just someone, the liaison, I believe, changed. So we're just trying to establish who the new one is, and I'm working on that as it is.
Yes, the
So.
utilities act like they're a sovereign nation among us.
As I mentioned, National Grid's a client, so I withhold any further comment.
Good for you.
Okay. Anything else that either of you need to report? Then I guess we'll see you in a number of months.
Again, hopefully under just as good of circumstances, right? So appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. We got one bill to pay, which is for the public safety feasibility study to Castle Blues for $14,875. Mason has reviewed this bill and their percentage of completion and is satisfied.
Absolutely, yeah. We saw last week KBA presented before us. It's clear they've been, moving right along on the schedule that had been adjusted. They're being really responsive to all the requests we've put in. They're clearly at over 80% completion. So happy to pay this bill.
Okay.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So therefore, we'll see you next week at the Zito Room for the Council on Aging. We'll see you on the 19th for the School Building Committee at the Zito Room. We'll take the 26th off, and we'll be back here on August 2nd, was it?
August 2nd.
Yes.
So thank you all for your time and effort, and unless there's anything else, take a motion to adjourn at 6:08.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.